I would like to yield to my friend from Florida, Mr. DeSantis, for such time as he may consume.
Well, I thank the gentleman from Texas for that. Mr. Speaker, I just want to say a few words about accountability. You know, normally the way it works is Congress can consider a piece of legislation, maybe it passes, maybe a president signs it, you implement it, and then the voters can decide whether they like it, whether it lived up to its billing, so to speak. Well, with Obamacare, it was interesting because this was rammed through Congress at the beginning of 2010, and yet it's just now really being implemented. So I'm starting to get a lot of people in my district contacting my office who are really shocked at some of the stiff premium increases that they're seeing. And so I think it's useful just to review some of the promises that were made and whether any of those promises have been kept. And I think what you'll find is this is a law not only that the public opposed, not only that was rammed through with no bipartisan support, but it's a law that in many ways is resting on false pretenses. So promise one, the President made this, will lower premiums by up to $2,500 for a typical family per year. I am not seeing that true in any place, and in fact, people are seeing $2,500 increases. There was a family in California, it was reported, who saw an increase of $10,000. So I think right here, as this is being implemented, we know that that is just not going to be the case. Promise number two, the President said this: if you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period. Well, we know that that's not true. We see spouses losing spousal coverage. We see people with major companies losing their employer-provided insurance, getting pushed into some of these exchanges. So the idea that if you can just keep if you like your plan, you can keep it, is absolutely not proving to be true for thousands of people throughout the country. And this is just beginning. People who've looked at this from the Congressional Budget Office to other groups say you could have anywhere from 7 to 30 million Americans who actually lose their employer plans because of Obamacare. And of course, if you're losing your plan and you're getting pushed into an exchange, you may not be able to keep your doctor because that doctor may not be in the network, may not be available based on the plan that you're having to take because you've lost your original plan. Promise number three. This is the President. I can make a firm pledge that under my plan, no family making less than $250,000 will see any form of tax increase. Well, we know that the individual mandate, he said wasn't a tax, but then when it got challenged in the Supreme Court, his administration was saying, yeah, uphold it because it is a tax, and that's eventually what the court did, saying that it's a tax. And that's a tax that hits blue-collar, salt-of-the-earth people, forcing them to buy a product that essentially they may not even be physically able to obtain because the websites don't work, and if not, they're going to tax you. So that certainly hasn't been true. But there are a whole bunch of other things in the law that hit income and lower income people. There's a cap on flexible spending accounts. It's actually harder under Obamacare to deduct medical expenses from your income taxes. So even a tax on indoor tanning salons. I think there's a lot of people who make less than $250,000 a year who are doing the tanning salons. And then, of course, there are a whole bunch of other taxes, over $1 trillion, that may not be directly levied on somebody making less than $250,000, but the costs will end up being passed on. For example, the employer mandate, the tax on health insurance plans, the medical device tax. Those taxes are on companies, but those costs are going to get pushed to individuals, and they're going to have to bear the cost of that. And oh, by the way, certain good health care plans that a lot of union members have who are not making $250,000 a year, those are considered Cadillac plans, and those will be taxed extra going forward. Finally, the President said, I will sign a universal health care bill into law by the end of my first term as President that will cover every American. It's interesting. People on the other side of the aisle will say, oh, you Republicans, why don't you want everybody to be covered? The most recent analysis from the Congressional Budget Office said that in 10 years from now, so after 13 years of Obamacare being the law, you will still have in this country 31 million Americans that don't have any insurance. And of course, we know Obamacare is causing people to lose the insurance that they have. So this is not something that's a universal health care bill by any stretch of the imagination. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to have any insurance. And so the point I just wanted to make with this is there's got to be accountability in government. People want to have a redress of their grievances. These issues were not necessarily teed up in the election, and so now people are coming to terms with what's happened. And so the point I would just make is, at a minimum, when you're dealing with the broken promises of Obamacare, we've got to communicate to the public that this has got to be based on some semblance of fairness. I mean, for example, the members of Congress who wrote this law must live under the exact terms of the statute. They should not be granted any extra legal relief from the burdens of Obamacare. And the fact that businesses have had the law delayed for them, and of course members of Congress have gotten a special treatment as well, I think individual Americans have got to be given the same deal. It's just wrong to have the IRS tax people to buy something from websites that aren't functional and buying products that they may not like. So accountability is key. This was a law that was passed. There were specific promises made over and over again, and what we're finding now, unfortunately, is those promises are not being kept. And so I thank the gentleman from Texas for yielding me time. And Mr. Speaker, I will yield back to the gentleman from Texas.
And I appreciate so much